What if the heaviest chains you carry are invisible? What if the prison that holds you is not made of stone and steel, but of comfort and quiet lies you tell yourself every single day? You feel it, don't you? A low hum of discontent in the marrow of your bones. A silent scream in the dead of night when the world is asleep and your own failures keep you company. You stand before the mirror and a stranger looks back. A stranger with tired eyes, a slouched posture of defeat, a spirit worn thin by 1,000 tiny surrenders. This isn't the person you were meant to be. This dull ache of mediocrity, this fog of unfulfilled potential, this was never your destiny. You were forged for fire, for conquest, for the thunder of a life lived at its absolute peak. Yet here you are, shackled by the mundane, trapped in a cycle of waking up, enduring and escaping into the hollow glow of screens, the fleeting rush of cheap dopamine, the numbing embrace of distraction. You call it relaxing. You call it unwinding. But your soul knows the truth. It's a slow-motion surrender. It's the sound of your own chains tightening, link by invisible link. The world sold you a lie. It told you the path to happiness was paved with ease. It whispered that struggle was a sign of failure, that pain was something to be avoided at all costs. It taught you to seek validation from the fleeting opinions of others, to measure your worth by the likes and comments of a faceless crowd. It trained you to be a spectator in your own life, a passive consumer of experiences rather than the blacksmith of your own fate. And so you followed. You walked the well-trodden path. You did what was expected. You kept your head down. And in doing so, you handed over the keys to your own cage. The chains you wear were not forced upon you. You chose them. Every time you hit the snooze button, you added a link. Every time you chose comfort over challenge, you hardened the steel. Every time you blamed the world for your circumstances, you locked the shackle a little tighter. But today that ends. The voice that led you here, the spark of rebellion that still burns within you, is the key. This is not another fleeting dose of motivation that will fade by morning. This is an awakening. This is an initiation. You are about to learn the creed of the rogue disciple, the one who walks away from the herd, who turns their back on the easy path and chooses to forge their own destiny in the fires of discipline. We will not just talk about breaking your chains. We will identify them, name them, and then I will hand you the hammer and the forge to shatter them into dust, one by one. You will learn that your weakness is not a life sentence but a choice, and you will learn how to make a different choice, starting now. You will understand that the pain you've been running from is the very chisel that will sculpt you into a masterpiece of strength and resolve. By the end of our time together, the reflection in the mirror will no longer be a stranger. It will be a warrior. It will be the master of its own mind, the architect of its own reality. It will be you, finally unleashed. The first and most insidious lie you must unlearn is that freedom feels good. True freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is not the endless pursuit of pleasure. That is the freedom of a leaf in the wind, directionless and at the mercy of every passing breeze. The freedom of the rogue disciple is the freedom of the mountain. It is forged in pressure, rooted in unshakable principle, and defined by its ability to withstand the storm. It is the freedom that comes from discipline. And the first act of this discipline, the first swing of the hammer against your chains, is to declare war on your own comfort. Look at your life, your comfortable bed, your climate-controlled home, the food delivered to your door, the endless entertainment a click away. Society has engineered a velvet-lined prison for your spirit. It has systematically eliminated the hardships that our ancestors faced, the very hardships that forged them into resilient, powerful beings. We have traded the trial of the hunt for the convenience of the supermarket. We have traded the chilling vigilance of a night watch for the blue light sedation of a screen. And in this trade, we have become soft. We have become fragile. Your very biology screams for this challenge. Your DNA is encoded with the wisdom of 1,000 generations of survivors, warriors, and builders. It craves resistance. It demands adversity to express its full potential. When you deny it this, your body and mind begin to decay. The unease you feel is the cry of a warrior spirit trapped in a zoo animal's enclosure. The first win, the truth you must absorb into your very soul right now, is this. Voluntary hardship is not self-punishment. It is self-liberation. You must begin to purposefully and strategically reintroduce discomfort into your life. This is the foundational practice of the rogue disciple. It is the act of teaching your nervous system, your mind, and your spirit that you are in command, not your fleeting desire for ease. Start tomorrow morning. When the alarm clock screams, do not bargain with it. Do not hit snooze. That negotiation is the sound of your weakness winning its first battle of the day. The moment you open your eyes, your feet hit the floor. No debate, no hesitation. This is your first declaration of sovereignty over your own impulses. Then walk to the shower and turn the handle all the way to cold. Not lukewarm, not a little cool. Cold. The kind of cold that steals your breath and makes every cell in your body scream in protest. As that icy water hits you, your mind will flood with a torrent of excuses. This is stupid. It's too early. What's the point? This is torture. Do not fight these thoughts. Observe them for what they are. The whining of the soft, comfortable self you are about to execute. Stand there. Control your breathing. Slow, deep breaths. Feel the initial shock transform into a tingling, electric alertness. Feel your mind, once foggy with sleep, become razor sharp. In those 2 minutes, you have done more to build mental fortitude than most people do in a month. You have taught your body a profound lesson, that you, the conscious will, decide what happens, not your primal instinct to flee from discomfort. This small act of defiance echoes throughout your entire day. It becomes a psychological anchor. When a difficult task arises at work, when you feel the pull of procrastination, you will have a reservoir of strength to draw from, built in that crucible of cold water. You will remember that you have already faced down the beast of discomfort and won, before the sun even rose. This is the first link you will shatter, the chain of comfort, and its breaking will send a tremor through all the others. Let us now speak of the chains themselves, for a warrior must know his enemy. These are not phantoms. They are deeply ingrained patterns of thought and behavior, ancient shackles that have held humanity in bondage for millennia. To break them, you must first see them clearly, in the cold, unforgiving light of truth. The first, as we have touched upon, is the chain of comfort. It is perhaps the most deceptive, for it masquerades as a friend. It is the velvet-lined cage. This chain is forged in the fires of instant gratification. It whispers to you in the language of ease. Why stand when you can sit? Why walk when you can drive? Why struggle when you can surrender? It promises rest but delivers stagnation. It promises pleasure but creates a deep, gnawing dissatisfaction. The rogue disciple understands that the path of least resistance is a path to a lesser self. Growth does not happen in the valley of comfort. It happens on the treacherous ascent of the mountain. The muscles of your character, like the muscles of your body, atrophy without resistance. To break this chain, you must become an architect of beneficial adversity. You have already learned the ritual of the cold shower. Now expand this philosophy. Park your car at the farthest end of the parking lot and walk. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. When you eat, occasionally practice intermittent fasting. Teach your body that it does not rule you with its every pang of hunger. When you train, push past the point where your mind begins to beg you to stop. Seek out the burn. That is the feeling of your limits expanding. That is the sound of the chain of comfort groaning under the strain. You must actively hunt for opportunities to choose the harder path, not out of a sense of masochism, but out of a deep understanding that this is the forge where your will is tempered into unbreakable steel. Every time you consciously choose a momentary hardship, you are casting a vote for your future, stronger self. You are rewiring your brain to associate effort with reward, not pain with avoidance. This is the fundamental alchemy of transformation. The second chain is the chain of procrastination. This is the rusted iron of inaction, heavy and cold. It is the executioner of dreams. How many brilliant ideas, how many life-altering plans have died in the graveyard of tomorrow? This chain is forged from fear. The fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of judgment, the fear of the sheer magnitude of the task ahead. It paralyzes you. It convinces you that the conditions aren't perfect, that you need more information, that you'll be more motivated later. These are lies. They are the siren song of mediocrity, luring your ambitions onto the rocks of inaction. Motivation is not a prerequisite for action. It is a consequence of it. The warrior does not wait to feel brave before charging into battle. He charges, and in the act of charging, he becomes brave. To shatter the chain of procrastination, you must wield the axe of decisive action. This is not about grand, sweeping gestures. It is about small, violent, immediate movements. The moment a task enters your mind, a task you know you should do, you must attack it. Use the 2-minute rule. If it can be done in less than 2 minutes, do it now, not later. Now, wash that one dish. Send that one email. Do 10 push-ups. This practice is not about productivity. It is about building the identity of an action taker. It trains your mind to close the gap between intention and execution until that gap no longer exists. For larger tasks, the ones that loom like impossible mountains, you must learn the art of the relentless first step. Do not look at the summit. Look at the single stone in front of you. Your task is not to write a book. It is to write one sentence. Your task is not to get in shape. It is to put on your running shoes and step out the door. The momentum born from that first, small act is a force of nature. It is a cascade. The axe falls on the first link, and the entire chain begins to unravel. The rogue disciple knows that the grandest cathedral is built one stone at a time, and the most epic journey begins with a single, defiant step. He wastes no energy on the vastness of the future. He pours all his power into the violent immediacy of the present moment. The third chain is the chain of external validation. This is the gilded chain, beautiful and deadly. It is the addiction to the opinions of others. You have been trained since birth to look outside of yourself for your sense of worth, for the approval of your parents, the grades from your teachers, the praise from your boss, the likes from strangers on a screen. You have become a reflection in 1,000 different mirrors, contorting yourself to please each one, and in the process, you have forgotten the shape of your own face. This chain forces you to live a life of quiet performance. You say things you don't mean, buy things you don't need, and pursue goals you don't truly desire, all for the fleeting applause of an audience that doesn't truly care. The fear of criticism, the terror of being disliked or misunderstood keeps you small. It keeps you safe. And it keeps you imprisoned. To break this chain, you must construct the shield of the inner citadel. This is the stoic fortress of your mind. Your worth is not a currency to be debated in the court of public opinion. It is an intrinsic, unchangeable fact. The rogue disciple operates from an internal scorecard. At the end of the day, there is only one judge whose verdict matters, the person you see in the mirror. Did you live according to your code? Did you give your absolute best effort? Did you act with courage and integrity? These are the only questions that have weight. The praise of the world is a fickle wind. Its criticism is the same. To build this shield, you must practice a radical indifference to both. When praised, acknowledge it without letting it inflate your ego. When criticized, analyze it for any kernel of truth, discard the rest, and move on without emotional attachment. The opinions of others are outside of your control. To stake your peace of mind on something you cannot control is the definition of insanity. It is to hand the remote control of your emotions to every random person you meet. Reclaim that control. Build your citadel wall by wall, thought by thought. Let the winds of opinion howl outside. Within your fortress, you will find an unshakable peace, the quiet strength of a man who knows his own value, independent of the world's applause or its condemnation. The fourth chain is the chain of fear. This is the phantom chain, a ghost that haunts your potential. It feels real. It constricts your chest, quickens your pulse, and poisons your mind with visions of catastrophic failure. Fear of the unknown, fear of taking a risk, fear of public speaking, fear of starting a business, fear of asking for what you want. Fear is a primal survival mechanism, a guard dog meant to protect you from saber-toothed tigers. But in the modern world, this guard dog has become an over-caffeinated, paranoid tyrant, barking at shadows, keeping you locked in a tiny, shrinking yard of perceived safety. It whispers of all the things that could go wrong, but it never speaks of the devastating cost of inaction. It never mentions the slow, soul-crushing death that comes from a life unlived, from dreams abandoned in the name of safety. The rogue disciple does not seek to eliminate fear. A man without fear is not brave, he is a fool. The warrior feels the fear, acknowledges its presence, and then acts anyway. To shatter the chain of fear, you must wield the spear of calculated exposure. You must become a scientist of your own fear. Take the thing that terrifies you and drag it out of the shadows into the light. Deconstruct it. What is the absolute worst-case scenario if you fail? Write it down in excruciating detail. Then for each point, ask yourself, how could I mitigate this? How could I recover from this? You will almost always find that the imagined catastrophe is a paper tiger. The consequences are temporary, survivable. The next step is to take the spear and probe the fear directly. This is the practice of microdosing courage, afraid of public speaking. Start by asking a question in a meeting. Then volunteer to give a short 2-minute update. Then a 5-minute presentation. You expand the boundary of your courage step by step. You are not jumping off a cliff. You are walking down a set of stairs into what was once a terrifying darkness. With each step, you realize you can see. You can breathe. The fear does not vanish, but it ceases to be your master. It becomes a compass, pointing you in the direction of the things you must do. The rogue disciple understands that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. He walks towards the roar. The fifth and final chain, the master link from which all others gain their strength, is the chain of victimhood. This is the heaviest chain of all, forged from the insidious poison of blame. It is the belief that your life, your circumstances, and your unhappiness are the fault of others. Your parents, your boss, the economy, the government, society. This mindset is a seductive prison because it absolves you of all responsibility. If it's not your fault, you don't have to do anything to fix it. You can simply wait, hoping for a savior, complaining about the injustice of it all. The victim finds a strange, perverse comfort in his own powerlessness. He gets sympathy. He gets to be right. But he remains a prisoner. He is a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the waves of circumstance, cursing the ocean for his lack of direction. To shatter this ultimate chain is to claim the crown of radical ownership. It is the most difficult and the most liberating act a man can perform. It is the unwavering acceptance that you and you alone are 100% responsible for your life, not for what happens to you, but for how you choose to respond. This is the essence of the Stoic creed. The world will be unfair, people will betray you, tragedy will strike. These are external events outside of your control. But your response, your thoughts, your interpretations, your actions, that is your kingdom. That is where your power lies. The rogue disciple embraces the Stoic concept of amor fati, a love of one's fate. He does not merely tolerate what happens, he embraces it as necessary. He sees every obstacle not as a roadblock, but as a training ground. He asks not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger?" When faced with a crisis, he does not waste a single moment on blame or complaint. He focuses his entire being on the next right action. He takes the very stones that others throw at him and uses them to build the foundation of his empire. This is the ultimate power. To take radical ownership is to cease being a pawn in the game of life and to become the player. It is to pick up the crown that has been waiting for you all along and place it upon your own head. You are no longer a victim of your story. You are the author. So we have named the chains: comfort, procrastination, external validation, fear, and victimhood. And we have named the tools to break them: the hammer of voluntary discomfort, the axe of decisive action, the shield of the inner citadel, the spear of calculated exposure, and the crown of radical ownership. Merely knowing their names is not enough. A warrior does not become a master of the sword by reading a manual. He becomes a master through relentless, daily practice. You must understand that this is not a program. This is not a 30-day challenge. This is the forging of a new identity. It is a lifelong war waged on the battlefield of your own mind, every single day. There will be days when you fail, days when the old habits resurface, when the chains feel heavy again. You will hit the snooze button. You will choose the comfortable option. You will care what someone thinks. You will feel the cold grip of fear and retreat. In these moments, the voice of the old self, the voice of weakness, will be deafening. It will tell you, see, you can't change. This is who you are. Just give up. This is the most critical juncture in your journey. The rogue disciple is not defined by his ability to never fall. He is defined by his ability to get back up every single time with more resolve than before. He does not see failure as a judgment on his character. He sees it as data. He analyzes the failure with cold, detached logic. Where did the discipline break down? What was the trigger? What will I do differently next time? He learns the lesson, integrates it, and gets back on the path. He understands that scars are not symbols of weakness, but symbols of survival. They are proof that he was wounded, but he healed stronger. Your journey will be a tapestry of failures and recoveries, each one adding to your strength and wisdom. Do not despise your setbacks. They are the rungs on the ladder of your ascent. You must also understand the price of this transformation. As you begin to change, as you start to embody this new code, the world around you will react. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. Your newfound discipline will be a mirror that reflects the indiscipline of others, and they may not like what they see. Friends who connected with you over shared complaints and distractions may fall away. They will call you obsessed, intense, or no fun anymore. They will try to pull you back into the comfortable cage with them because your freedom threatens their own imprisonment. You must be prepared for this. The path of the rogue disciple is often a solitary one. It is the path of the lone wolf, not the sheep. You must find solace in your own strength, in the integrity of your purpose. Your validation must come from the work itself, from the quiet pride of knowing you are living a life of principle, not from the approval of the herd. This solitude is not a curse. It is a crucible. It is in the silence, away from the noise of the crowd, that you can finally hear the voice of your own soul. It is in the wilderness that the wolf grows sharp. Let us deepen our understanding of the forge. The mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, it requires progressive overload to grow. The practices we have discussed are not static. The cold shower that feels like torture in the first week will become routine. The workout that leaves you breathless will become a warm-up. The fear you confronted will become a memory. The rogue disciple is a student of his own evolution. He is constantly seeking the edge of his current capabilities and pushing just beyond it. He practices the art of the +1. Can you do 10 push-ups? Tomorrow, do 11. Can you read 10 pages of a difficult book? Tomorrow, read 11. Can you endure the cold shower for 2 minutes? Next week, aim for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This principle of constant, marginal improvement is the secret to monumental change over time. It is the gentle, relentless pressure that transforms a lump of coal into a diamond. It is unspectacular in the moment, but it is unstoppable over the long term. Let's revisit the inner citadel. Building this fortress requires more than just ignoring opinions. It requires a deep, philosophical foundation. This is where the wisdom of the ancient Stoics becomes your blueprint. You must learn to distinguish with absolute clarity between what is within your control and what is not. Your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, your will, these are yours. The weather, the economy, the actions of other people, your reputation, your health in the long run, these are not entirely yours. To waste emotional energy on things outside your control is to leak power. It is to leave the gates of your citadel wide open for invading armies of anxiety and frustration. The rogue disciple practices a daily ritual of mental triage. He observes the events of his day and sorts them into these two categories. For those within his control, he applies his full effort and focus. For those outside his control, he practices acceptance. This is not a passive resignation. It is an active, powerful choice to conserve his energy for the battles he can actually win. This practice, repeated daily, will build an incredible sense of inner peace and resilience. You become the calm eye of the hurricane, a point of stability and strength no matter how fiercely the storms of life may rage around you. Consider the nature of time. The average person lives as if they are immortal. They squander their hours, their days, their years, believing there will always be more. The rogue disciple lives with the acute awareness of his own mortality. He practices memento mori, remember you must die. This is not a morbid obsession. It is a powerful tool for focus and clarification. Knowing that your time is finite, a precious and non-renewable resource, forces you to question how you are spending it. Is this activity, this worry, this distraction, worthy of a fragment of my life? This question acts as a filter, cutting away the trivial and the meaningless. It compels you to live with urgency and purpose. It forces you to stop deferring your dreams to an imaginary future and to take bold action in the only time you truly have. Now, every sunrise is a gift, a fresh allotment of hours to be invested, not spent. The rogue disciple invests his time in actions that align with his highest values, building strength, acquiring knowledge, cultivating relationships of substance, and creating a legacy. He does not kill time, for he knows that in the end, it is time that will kill him. Let's speak more on the acts of decisive action. Procrastination is often rooted in a desire for perfection. You wait for the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect feeling. The rogue disciple knows that perfection is the enemy of progress. He embraces the warrior's principle of 70% and go. A good plan executed violently now is infinitely better than a perfect plan executed next week. You will make mistakes. Your first attempts will be clumsy. Your initial efforts may be crude. This is not just acceptable, it is necessary, it is the process. The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. You must decouple your ego from the outcome. The goal is not to be perfect on the first try. The goal is to act, to gather feedback from that action, to adjust and to act again. This is the loop of mastery. Action, feedback, iteration. Action, feedback, iteration. It is a relentless, forward-moving cycle. Stop thinking. Stop planning in endless detail. Start doing. The clarity you seek is not found in contemplation. It is found in the messy, imperfect, beautiful process of action itself. Let us explore the human will. Your will is not some mystical, inborn trait. It is a resource. It is a muscle. It can be trained and it can be depleted. The modern world is a minefield of temptations designed to drain your willpower. The notifications on your phone, the engineered addictiveness of junk food, the endless scroll of social media, these are all designed to hijack your impulses and exhaust your capacity for self-control. The rogue disciple understands this and structures his environment for victory. He does not rely on willpower alone because he knows it is a finite resource. He is an architect of his own battlefield. He removes temptation. He throws out the junk food from his house. He turns off notifications on his phone. He uses apps to block distracting websites. He makes it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. He sets out his gym clothes the night before. He prepares his healthy meals in advance. He automates his decisions so that his precious willpower is conserved for the truly important battles. He understands that you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. By consciously designing his environment and his routines, he makes discipline the path of least resistance. He wins the war not through a series of heroic, willpower-draining struggles, but through intelligent, strategic planning before the battle even begins. Now let's talk about the nature of your internal dialogue, the voice in your head. For most people, this voice is a relentless critic, a harbinger of doubt, a narrator of past failures. It is the voice of the chains. You're not good enough. You'll never succeed. Remember what happened last time. You must seize control of this narrator. The rogue disciple consciously cultivates a different internal voice. The voice of a coach, the voice of a commander, the voice of a stoic sage. When faced with a challenge, his internal voice does not whine, it strategizes. Okay, this is difficult. What is the first step? When he fails, his internal voice does not condemn, it analyzes. That did not work. What did we learn? How do we adapt? This is not about hollow, baseless affirmations. It is about a fundamental shift in your relationship with yourself. You must become your own most trusted ally, not your own worst enemy. You can begin this practice through journaling. At the end of each day, write down your wins, no matter how small. Acknowledge your effort. Write down your challenges and failures, and then write, from the perspective of a wise mentor, what the lesson is and what the plan is for tomorrow. Over time, this written practice will become your automatic internal thought process. You will be actively forging a mind that builds you up, rather than one that tears you down. Let's reconsider the crown of radical ownership. This principle extends beyond merely your response to external events. It extends to your physical and mental state. The rogue disciple takes ownership of his body. He sees it not as a vehicle for pleasure, but as a weapon, a tool, an instrument for executing his will in the world. He fuels it with clean, powerful food. He hones it with rigorous, consistent training. He respects its need for rest and recovery. He understands that his physical state is inextricably linked to his mental state. A weak body cannot sustain a powerful mind. The discipline required to build and maintain a strong physique, the consistency, the pain tolerance, the delayed gratification, these are the very same qualities required to build a strong character. Your training is a laboratory for life. The way you push through the last, grueling repetition in the gym is the way you will push through a difficult project at work or a personal crisis. Your body is your responsibility. Take ownership of it. He also takes ownership of his mind in terms of what he feeds it. Just as junk food makes the body weak and sluggish, junk information makes the mind weak and distracted. The endless stream of celebrity gossip, political outrage, and trivial news is mental poison. It clutters your consciousness, inflames your emotions over things you cannot control, and distracts you from your purpose. The rogue disciple curates his information diet as carefully as his nutritional diet. He reads books that have stood the test of time. He studies philosophy, history, and biographies of great men and women. He seeks knowledge that is timeless and practical, knowledge that can be forged into wisdom. He starves his distractions and feeds his focus. He understands that what you consume, you become. By taking ownership of the information that enters his mind, he ensures that he is building a mind capable of deep thought, clear judgment, and unwavering focus. We have spoken of the path, the tools, and the mindset. We've examined the enemy within, the chains of comfort, procrastination, validation, fear, and victimhood. We've armed you with the means to shatter them: the hammer, the axe, the shield, the spear, and the crown. We have established that this is not a quick fix, but a lifelong war for your own sovereignty, fought daily on the battlefield of your mind through deliberate practice, environmental design, and radical ownership. But now, as you stand at this precipice of change, a question lingers. When was the last time you truly sat in silence, with no distractions, and asked yourself what you actually want from this one life you have been given? Not what your parents want for you, not what society expects of you, but what the warrior spirit within you truly craves. The journey of the rogue disciple is not about becoming an unfeeling machine. It is about clearing away the debris of weakness and distraction so that you can pursue a worthy purpose with your entire being. The discipline is not the end goal, it is the vehicle. The strength is not the prize, it is the tool. The real purpose of breaking your chains is to free yourself to build something that matters: a business, a family, a body of work, a legacy, a life of meaning. Without a powerful why, all the hows of discipline will eventually crumble. Your purpose is your North Star. It is the beacon that will guide you through the inevitable storms of doubt and hardship. It is the fuel for your fire on the days when you feel empty. So take the time to define your mission. What code will you live by? What impact do you want to have on the world? What are you willing to bleed for? Write it down, make it clear. This is your personal declaration of independence. This is the constitution for the new nation of you. Refer to it daily. Let it be the standard against which you measure all your actions. When faced with a choice, ask yourself, does this move me closer to my mission or further away? This simple question will bring extraordinary clarity to your life. It will make it easier to say no to the trivial and yes to the vital. The final piece of this puzzle is the understanding of your own narrative. You are the storyteller of your own life. The story you tell yourself about who you are, what you've been through, and where you are going becomes your reality. The victim tells a story of woe and injustice. The procrastinator tells a story of one day. The fearful man tells a story of caution and what-ifs. The rogue disciple chooses to tell a different story. He tells a hero's story. He reframes his past not as a source of shame or regret, but as a training ground. His struggles were his crucible. His scars are his credentials. His past failures are the chapters that set the stage for his comeback. He is not a victim of his history. He is the protagonist who has been forged by it. You must consciously seize the pen and begin authoring this new story, starting today. Every action you take that aligns with your new code is a sentence in this new chapter. Every cold shower, every completed task, every moment of choosing courage over fear is you, in real time, writing yourself into the hero you were always meant to be. Live your life in such a way that if it were a book, it would be one you would be proud to read. Make it an epic of transformation, a saga of a soul that refused to remain in chains, that rose from the ashes of mediocrity and claimed its own throne. The path ahead is not easy. It is a path of resistance, of solitude, of constant self-overcoming. But it is the only path that leads to true freedom, to unshakable strength, and to a life of profound meaning. The chains of weakness are all around you, whispering their comfortable lies. The herd is content in its cage, but you are not one of them. The very fact that you have listened this far is proof that the spark of the rogue is alive in you. Now you have a choice. You can let this spark fade, returning to the familiar comfort of your chains, or you can pour gasoline on it. You can pick up the first tool and take the first swing. Look down at your hands. They are capable of building or destroying. Look inside your mind. It can be a prison or a fortress. The choice is yours, and it is made not in a grand pronouncement, but in the next small action you take. The war for your soul is won in the trenches of the mundane, in the quiet, unglamorous decisions you make every single hour of every single day. So the real question is not what you have learned here today. The real question is, which chain will you shatter first?